Here we go.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Zone, a remade pitch zone, just in time for the new year. Because, as McDonald's once said in a commercial, change is good. So, we've not just changed the name, we changed the format a little bit. You will see in a moment how exactly we have done it and how the zone is looking now. My name is Claudio. I'm a presentation coach and I host this show weekly to help you elevate your speaking skills. And my guest today is Nathan Gold, hailing from San Francisco. Nathan, good morning to you.
Good morning to you and all of our guests as well. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's such a real pleasure to have you on the first remade episode here, the first episode of 2024. Did you arrive well in the new year, Nathan? What did you do for New Year's Eve?
Well, we did go over to some friends' houses, and I was falling asleep at about 10 o'clock once the ball fell down or came down in New York, but I made it all the way till midnight. And
All
at
right.
about 12:03, we all left.
Okay. And you grew up on Long Island. You grew up in the state of New York, right? So
Yeah.
that is perhaps still your internal clock somewhere that is kicking in the right moment. Well, Nathan, we have a couple of viewers here online. Let's quickly
Let's say
head
hello.
over and say hello. We have Cosmic here using Bradley's account. All right, Cosmic,
Does he know we are
nice.
using his account?
That's the good question. We have Yash from India. Yash, always a great pleasure seeing you. Kaylee, so great to see you. Happy New Year to you too. We have Anthony from San Francisco and Patrick from Dallas. Ah, Cosmic, here we go. That is Dan
Yeah.
Schwartz. Dan, real pleasure having you. Wow, we have a great audience here today, Nathan.
Mm.
Suzation, business coaching. We have Said from Germany, Kai from Germany, Scott
Wow.
Peak. Wow, we have a absolutely spectacular group of people here. Thank you everybody for making the time, joining us here. And hello, Tracy. Great pleasure to see you here. So today's episode is all about getting into the zone, getting into that peak performance state that we really need when we communicate and when we present. Now, Nathan, I did a little bit of digging in an old shoebox. I found something, and it looks like you started really early with those efforts of getting into the right state of mind. See what I found?
Oh, no.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Nathan Gold at the tender age of what, like 13, 14, 15,
13 years old.
13. Tell us a little bit about this day.
Wow, the memories that are rolling over me right now are amazing. This was a camp that was for boys up in upstate New York, and I went there one year, and then the next year I came back again, and the camp was named after Nathan Turk. So I had this little unfair advantage with the counselors after Nathan died. He was like in his 80s. The year that I went to the second year I went to the camp, the counselor said, "Hey, Nathan, you and Nathan had a very interesting little relationship," because we met, we talked, we sat, we had pictures. And they asked me if I would do a talk in front of the whole camp and about 1,000 people who had come into town to for the funeral. 1,000 people. I was 13 and it freaked me out. But I did have a counselor there who was a teacher, and he sat me down, worked with me for about a week on how to write a script, how to prepare, how to practice, how to perform. And it was like a master class in how to present at 13 years old. And everything up to that moment, had pretty much been in school, because you know many people around the world don't know that in the States here we are forced to present these science projects at a very young age, in third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade. So I had a little bit, you know, of presentation, but nothing like that for 1,000 people. I had no sleep that night. I was sweating like a pig, and it wasn't that hot. But I had a script that I was able to read, and I did
Wow.
read it, but I was able to look up and look down and look up. And the counselor that helped me said, "I don't know, you got it, Nathan. That was a really well done presentation." And that's kind of what started my whole love of being in front of people, because there was a sea of people behind where you see me standing, the other side. It was like,
Wow.
I'll never
Wow.
forget that.
So cool. So cool. I'm glad I found the picture and I'm glad I brought it up on the screen here. And the one thing I wanted to quickly point out is your posture. Your posture here is absolutely impeccable. Like you always have a great posture, Nathan. And I can see that, you know, this has gone through your life all the time. So speaking of posture, let's make this a little bit engaging and interesting for our audience online, right? So everybody who has joined us now on YouTube or Facebook, let's play a little trivia game. I'm very curious if you are up for this, if I find the right button on my little stream deck here, right? So let's see, just put into the comments your answer. It's going to be A, B, C, or D. So here is the question. What famous TED speaker recommends using a power pose to boost confidence before presenting? Is it A, Simon Sinek, B, Amy Mullins, C, Amy Cuddy, or D, Chris Anderson? So if you're watching us right now live, just put into the chat A, B, C, or D. And I'm gonna bring up the chat right here. We have C's, we have Kaylee, she even knows the name, knew the name before I revealed it. We have C, Tracy. All right, so let's see. Are you right on or not? Ding,
Yay.
We got Amy Cuddy. Very good, Amy Cuddy. So Nathan, you've undoubtedly seen that presentation. What is your take on the power pose, and how do you prepare your clients to reach that peak performance state when it comes to body work?
You know, I'm not an Amy Cuddy, of course, and I don't have 70 plus million views of any video I've ever been on. So what I'm about to say might sound a little controversial, especially because she is who she is, but I think she's amazing. And I like the way she gets my body moving. However, even though it gets me into the right state of mind, some of the background noise on some of the science or the research behind it is perhaps a little bit iffy, fluffy, questionable. But it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because if all you do is put your hands above your head, look up and start, you know, breathing a bit deeper, you will probably get into a much better state of mind than if you're looking down at the ground, listening to the negative self-talk going on in your head. So it's I believe what she did more than anything for everyone who watched that is to make us realize we need to get our body into the right state of mind so that our brain follows suit. So
Indeed.
I love what she did. I think it's a great talk, and I think everybody ought to watch it because you can learn something from it.
Absolutely. And, you know, there is a mind-body connection. We sometimes think it's totally separate, our mind and our body, and each one goes its separate ways. But absolutely it is. And if you think about how she does it and the power poses that she recommends, right? Like one of them is getting your arms up into some kind of a winner pose, right? And I love this because you're basically tricking the brain, right? By sending it a signal that says, "Hey, look, I'm a winner, I'm a winner, I'm a winner," and of course something happens. Now, some of the criticism that she's got is that it's not replicatable, right? Her research is not easily replicatable, but I think it really depends, because not everybody does this as a winner, right? So I think it's for each person to find out what is your winning pose, your winning, and slip into that. So instead of just following blindly, start to figure out, what is it when I do I do this, do I do whatever it is, and then perhaps integrate that and incorporate that into your pre-talk ritual, right? Okay, okay.
And that's what I do. I do have, you asked me, what do I do? And it's pretty simple for me. I just take full control over my breathing, no matter what's going on, if I'm prepared, which for the advice and the coaching I usually give people, it all starts with, if you are not fully prepared to do what you are ready to do, there isn't much I can do to help you. Right? I mean, sure, we can fake it and you can, make believe you know what you're doing. But in general, if you're prepared, then what I typically do is try to shut down that inner voice. And to shut down that inner voice, I myself do work on my posture, because I tend to slouch a bit. So when I'm going up on stage or in front of a camera, I will work on my posture, literally start doing things to sit up straighter, push my arms back, squeeze my behind so that I feel even taller, stronger, and more confident. So for me, it all starts with the breathing, to make sure that I am getting the oxygen my body needs. Because when we get nervous, every one of us breathe differently when we're nervous. And if you let that involuntary breathing start to take you down, it'll take you down the wrong path, because you're not getting enough oxygen into your body. And we're only doing what they call clavicle breathing, or just enough so that you can say the next thing you want to say. So for me, it's the breathing, it's the posture. And then for the magic to shut down all of that noise going on in our heads is music. I recommend what psychologists call a mood inducer. We use music to get out of a bad mood when we're going home or going to a party after work and we've had a bad day. We put on great fun music. Well, we can do the same thing with our state of mind when you're going up to present, because we are all nervous, whether it's a debilitating nervous or whether it's an excited, childlike anticipation nervous, which is me. I can't wait to get up there, but I'm still nervous. We all are. We're alive. If you're not nervous, you probably shouldn't go up and present. So I play some music in my head which drowns out all of the self-talk, whether it's positive or negative. And for me, I use the Rocky theme, because that theme from the first movie, instantly, boom, in 12 seconds, I'm at the top of the stairs, ready to go. As opposed to people saying, I just need 30 seconds to warm up in front of my audience. If you do that in a boxing ring, you're probably going to hit the mat pretty quickly. So you got to be ready. And that's the analogy and the metaphor that I've used throughout my life, because I saw that movie in the late 70s 4 times in the same day.
In the same day. Okay, okay. Did you have to pay every single time, or did you just sneak out the back door and then? Oh, okay. But I think we have reached. Yeah, we have reached the statute of limitations, so it's all good, Nathan. Don't worry. All right. So let's see with the audience. Are you ready for another trivia question? I would hope so. I'm not going to wait for you to answer, but immediately dive into it. So the next question is, which of these techniques is recommended for getting into the zone before a presentation? Is it A, rapid pacing, B, listening to music, C, eating a heavy meal, or D, don't practice because that just makes you more nervous? So, A, B, C, or D. Let's see what our audience is thinking. All right, we have B, we have D. We have 2 active people here. Come on, everybody. Did I lose you
There
to
we go.
email or any of the tabs in your browser? Dimitris, B. Yeah, okay. So we have 2 Bs, 1 D. There are more coming in. I'm too quick. Yeah, she's going with A. Anthony with B. Susan with B. All right. So we have predominantly Bs, a couple or 1 or 2 A. B. Kobe Bryant said, listen to the theme song of Halloween. All right, Kevin. C. Okay. So let's go back to the question here again. What is it, Nathan?
What is the answer? Well,
Yeah.
for me, it's B.
Of course, it's B. And it's not just any B. It's the Rocky soundtrack B, right? Maybe.
Well, that's for me. Everybody has a piece of music that will inspire them, will motivate them, will get them lit up. And that's the kind of music you want to choose for yourself. It doesn't matter what it is. You don't have to tell anybody what it is because you just play it up here.
Indeed.
And the louder I bring the music up in my mind, the less I feel that nervousness that debilitating nervousness that might send you into that flight moment, or that point where you just,
Susan shared her own song. It's Till the Love Runs Out by One Republic. Powerful song as well. So I'm curious, other ones. Yes, Yash, he listens to ELO. What are you listening to? For me personally, it's a couple of different. I actually have an entire energizing playlist, right?
Yeah.
And one of the ones that I most often use is New Attitude by Patti LaBelle. I just think, that beat somehow gets me there. And then I recently found a version of The Winner Takes It All by Laura Branigan. And that also has a very, very special ring to it. So that's it for me. We have Dan here with Queen. Queen, we will rock you, or we are the champions, of course, So yes, all right. So that's to the music part. Let's just move on with our trivia. We have a couple more questions. Actually, a total of 5 questions. So let's see if and how we are getting through these. The concept of flow, often associated with being in the zone, was popularized by which psychologist? Was it A, Carl Jung, B, Abraham Maslow, C, Sigmund Freud, or D, do I want to butcher his name?
Go ahead.
No, I actually looked up how to say it, but it's still difficult, right? It's Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. All right, so is it A, B, C, or the person with an unpronounceable name? What does our audience think here? Kai thinks it's D. Susan, all right, D.
Wow.
What else? Do we have any guesses if you don't know it? Scott Peak, D. Said. Be like water, my friend, or be water.
There's some truth to that.
Yes.
Some truth to that.
Yeah. Dimitris, no idea. That's a good answer as well. Absolutely.
Come on, Demetrius, you can guess. There's only 4 choices.
Right. Dimitris and Kaylee, try again. Come on.
Use ChatGPT if you can't figure it out on your own.
Yeah, I'm sure some people are Googling right now. Who? And this man actually wrote the book called Flow. Here we go. He wrote the book called Flow in, I think it was 1990. And when I read it, I was deeply impressed with the research that he did. And the answer is D, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. I'm so proud of myself for getting that name correct, you know? It's like
Yeah, that's great.
but it's because there is a profound insight. I'm curious if our audience, if anybody has read his book, Flow, just put yes or no into the chat. What he did is, and this you must laugh, you know, having a job as a professor at a huge university. I think he is a professor at the University of Chicago, and you know, has so many warm bodies at his disposal to do all kinds of research, right? And this was in 1990. The research took place in the late 80s, so he equipped them all with a pager. And from time to time, he sent out a quick page that basically they just had to respond whether they would rather be doing something else at this moment, right? And if the answer was no, I don't want to do something else, this is what he took as the base for that flow state. Very, very interesting book. I absolutely recommend reading this book. Now, Nathan, how do you define a flow state? What are the components that need to be there so that we can actually enter that state of flow or get into the zone?
Gee, interesting question. Never really quite thought about it like that. Well, aside from being prepared, I'm not sure there's much more to add to it in terms of what I do myself or what I recommend to people that are walking up on a TED stage or something like that, where you have extreme internal pressure to do well, and that we all react to it differently depending on the pressure of the situation. Walking up on a TED stage where you have Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Al Gore, and a whole bunch of other billionaires sitting in the front row, I don't care who you are, we're going to sweat. And being in the zone will help, but I don't think it's going to make you stop sweating or not being nervous. So for me, I would go straight back to what I mentioned earlier. I'd be backstage. I'd be prepared. I'd have my script so well rehearsed that when I speak it, it doesn't sound rehearsed. And that's the rub when it comes to memorizing, by the way. So for any of our people out in the audience that are thinking, should I memorize or should I not memorize? Generally speaking, most people memorize their talk if they choose to go that way, and then they stop. And that's the mistake. You stop once it's memorized, but that's only half the job. The other half of the job is being able to say it. So it doesn't sound memorized. So it's practiced in a way that when you put a pause in, it looks very natural and sounds very natural. And without that kind of practice and rehearsal, there's not much I can do to get you into any flow zone. But if you are rehearsed, whether it's a memorized script or you just know what you want to say, like the talking points that we are using here, all you need to do is make sure you're using the right posture, you're breathing properly, bringing a lot of oxygen down into the lower parts of our abdominal cavity versus that high breathing, waiting. Somebody's asking you a question, like you were just asking me a question that I had never really heard before. And so I immediately felt doing some clavicle breathing. Stop it. Open up and relax your abdominal cavity and just let the air come in. And that, by the way, is the part of our body where a lot of the oxygen goes. So I was even doing it with you on that one question. Like, how do I answer this question? I don't, what? But once I had that breath coming back in, I realized, okay, now I'm back in the zone. I can think more clearly. And that is what brought me back to breathing, posture, and music.
Yeah. And I could tell that you went out of that zone for a little while, right? I could tell it. I mean, we know each other very well. We look at how do people breathe, where do they breathe, and I immediately saw your breath going up and go like, and buying time with the question or with the interesting question. I've never heard the question to really get into it. So. Yeah, and I think you really nailed it, right? For me personally, and I think you can probably, you might agree if you just go back to your experience that you just had, right? There are three components that I believe make up that flow state, that in the zone state. One is a sense of effortless action. things just come easy, right? It's like it doesn't require any effort. It doesn't require any extra brain power or extra cycles up here. The other one, and it's very closely related, it's deeply focused, right? You're focused, you're mindful. You're not thinking about, hey, what's for dinner tonight? I wonder, is my wife still angry with me after last night's little dispute we had? Or, it's my wife. Okay, so sense of effortless action, deep focus, and this I think is the key. And you just mentioned it indirectly, as a matter of fact, is loss of self-consciousness, right? So when you said before that you heard the question and then you started to pay attention to your breathing and you go like, stop it, and so on, you became very self-conscious. You became self-aware. And once you went over that, then all of a sudden, whoosh, you were back in the zone. Very cool.
Which
very
clearly
cool.
demonstrates that we can go in and out of the zone. Once we get in, it doesn't mean we stay there. It's an effort on our part. We have to continually manage that zone. So I hope that we all realize that it's not a state you get and then you just keep the light switch on. You look out in an audience halfway through your talk and they have this RBF kind of a face and you realize, what did I say to make them angry? And now you lost your pain. You're out of the zone. Now what can you do to get back into the zone? My recommendation is never look at people like that. Find a happy face. Find a face like Claudio's in the audience that's nodding, he's smiling, he's interacting with you, and don't pay any attention to those still motionless people.
Indeed. And Kaylee also adds here to the list, embodiment helps too. Yes, clearly. All right. Well, let's see if our audience is ready for another question here. Let's have a look at what's in store next.
This is number 4, right?
This is number 3. I think it's...
Oh, number 3.
Number 3 or number 4? I think it's only number 3. Yeah. We'll have to add another 15 minutes to this episode here or something. No. We'll get nicely through this 45 minutes. It's all planned meticulously. I'm following my script here to the teeth, teeth, whatever. Yeah.
All memorized.
So which of the following is a commonly recommended technique to manage presentation anxiety? Is it A, drinking coffee, B, breathing exercises, C, avoiding eye contact, or D, memorizing word for word? Again, what is a commonly recommended technique to manage presentation anxiety? A, B, C, or D? And this one doesn't seem to be so easy. Here they come in. Okay. Just took a little while here. Oh, wow. All right. So B. Yes, of course, you are all correct. Breathing exercises. Now, there are a lot of different type of breathing exercises. Nathan, what is your go-to exercise that you work when you work with your clients?
For severe nervousness, or even just for any nervousness, and this doesn't only apply to presentations and speaking opportunities. You could be signing for a brand new car and you could have so much nervousness going on that you can't even, you're shaking, you can't even sign the paper. It's not because you don't want to sign the paper, it's but because you have that excitement or that nervousness that you have going on. So you got to do something. What was the question? I lost the question.
What was it?
Yeah. Oh.
What is the most
breathing exercise,
commonly
yes.
recommended? Yep.
Yes.
There we go.
Yosh got it. Too much coffee. Yep. So the breathing exercises that I learned about back 14 years ago, I walked into the Kaufman Foundation recording situation in the Performing Arts Center. I walked in, they said, go in that room, and there were all these people in there just waiting for me. I've never been in a situation where there were 30 people there, a full film crew. I was about to fall over. I was so nervous. My blue shirt turned dark blue just because I was completely freaking out. This woman, Sharon, grabbed my arm. She could see I was turning white. I knew what I was going to talk about. It wasn't the content. She saw I was turning white. And she grabbed my arm and said, come on, come with me. And we went out into the hallway, and she sat me down on the bench and said, lay down and close your eyes. Okay. And she put me through the breathing exercise that I have used ever since, and that I coach all my clients on how to use. And it's not something she made up. There are 3 names for it. One is called tactical breathing. That's what she called it, tactical breathing. It's also called combat breathing, and it's also called box breathing. They all pretty much do the same thing. But if you're a military, fire, police, first responder, or the kind of job where you're on your own and something crazy can happen and you need to get your senses back, there's nobody around to give you a hug. I mean, you need to hug yourself. Maybe that might work. But using tactical breathing, where you breathe in for some number of seconds, or some count, you hold it for the same count, you breathe out for that count. Just Google it, you'll see. It worked. When I was laying on that bench, all of my senses came back within about 30 seconds. And she said, okay, it looks like you're breathing more normally now. Please sit up.
Nice.
And it was like night and day. If I hadn't had that experience, Claudia, I'm telling you, I would have taken flight.
Yeah.
I literally was going to walk back into the room where my clothes were. And they did say, bring 2 changes of shirts and 2 ties, in case I had to change my entire inner, outer, everything but the jacket.
I just wanted to say, what about the underwear?
Well,
that one you had to change first, right?
Nothing quite happened to that degree, but boy, that was
yeah.
the most debilitating experience I think I've ever had in all of my career. And that just points to the fact that no matter how prepared you are, no matter how many times you've been on stage, we all can have a fight or flight moment or freeze moment. And we need tools to get out of that moment. Yep. And if I didn't have that tactical breathing, I would have missed out on that. And I would have literally called the taxi to take me back to the hotel.
Yep.
And I'm sure glad I didn't.
And I want to add something to the breathing, actually, because a lot of people, they focus on the breathing exercises, the tactical breathing or box breathing, different exercises. One thing that I talk about this with every single one of my clients, that is to pay attention and focus on your exhale, not your inhale. This is what typically happens, right? People, they say, just breathe, right? And then what do we do when somebody says, breathe? We breathe in.
That's right.
But what happens if we continue to breathe in? Picture a little child crying, right? And it cannot stop crying. And it goes like, hoo, 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 hoo. And we are close to getting to a hyperventilation state this way. So equally important, if not more important than the breathing in, the inhaling, is the exhale. Because if you exhale properly and you exhale fully, the inhale takes care of itself. You are hardwired that way, right? So try this the next time. If you are in a situation like this and you think, everybody says breathing. Yeah, breathe and pay special attention to the exhale. Okay, next one of our trivia questions. What is a key strategy for dealing with unexpected technical issues during a presentation? Because that really throws us curveballs and immediately yanks us out of that zone, of that flow state that we are in. So what is a key strategy for dealing with unexpected technical issues? A, cancel the presentation. Okay, I'm going to pull this one up here before even anything else. The facilitator says E, crying, and I absolutely love it. Thank you for that, Said. So A, cancel the presentation. B, ignore the problem. C, have a backup plan. Or D, blame the technology. A, B, C, D, or E, cry. Okay, the answers are coming in here. We have Anthony with a C. Do we have anything else? Okay, a lot of C's, a lot of C's.
That's it.
This
That's
audience here, Nathan, is really, really switched on. We only got C, 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 C's. Okay.
That's great.
Very good, very good. So
Let's talk about that.
let's talk a little bit about that. So backup plan and any of the other choices here, Nathan?
So with the backup plan is the key. That is the right answer. But it's more than just having a backup plan. It's having a backup plan that you've practiced, that you've rehearsed as best as you can. Like you can't practice for every situation. But let's say the microphone cuts out. What do you do? Let's say the slides stop. What do you do? Those are things you can practice. Speaking of a microphone cutting out, I had a client who had to go up on the TED stage. They had a 3-minute presentation. Very unusual. 3 minutes. He walked out, gets to the lectern. There's 4 microphones on the lectern. He goes into his talk, which is very well rehearsed, and 30 seconds in, the mics drop. They cut out, which is like what you would think that would never happen in a situation like that, but it happened. And we practiced for it. We literally practiced for it. So he just did what we practiced. He just looked around and saw the tech guys starting to come out and walked to the front of the stage and continued the talk. And then they waved him back about 30 seconds later. Apparently he kicked some wire out or something like that. He came back to the to the lectern and finished in 2 minutes and 58 seconds. Walked off the stage, no problem. He gets in the back. They're taking the mic off of his shirt. Somebody taps him on the shoulder and says, "Hey, there's someone waiting for you outside the door there who wants to talk to you." Okay. Gets the microphone taken off. He walks out the door, and this is absolutely a true story, verifiable. It's Bill Gates waiting for him behind stage. He walks up to my client and says, "Hey, nice job. Professionals never blame the tech, do they? And here's my business card because I'd like to see and hear more about what you're working on." So if you chose any of those other choices you had in your little quiz a moment ago, you might not have ever met whatever, to meet somebody that you may never have had a chance to meet in your past. So no matter what happens on stage, if you're prepared for something that's not going right and you can recover, look what could possibly happen. One more thing I do like to tell people, and that is if something technically goes wrong in your presentation, generally, I recommend step aside, see if someone in your room there can help you fix it while you continue talking with your audience. If you do that, then you're not the one that gets blamed if you can't get the tech working again. They get blamed, which is okay for the moment. You're the person keeping the attention of the audience, and if the tech never comes back, hopefully you're prepared enough to finish out what you're planning to do without tech. The worst technical situation I ever walked in was no electricity in the room. Can you imagine walking into a room, no electricity? The only thing was working, the lights up above. So you need a backup plan because things happen. Things happen. Like, what do you do if you can't plug in your computer and you can't use a projector and you can't write on the walls? What? That was a weird situation, but I got through it. Have a backup plan, practice the backup plan, and don't take it for granted because you may need it one day.
Nice, nice, nice. Absolutely. Nathan, this is a story worth sharing for sure. And, I actually I thought we had another trivia question, but we don't. I think your counting before was better on than mine. So let me just finish this one up. I recently, or 3-4 years ago, I was giving a talk to some expat group here in Thailand, and these expat groups they attract a lot of seasoned people, slightly older. And it was really the talk. It was one of these things that usually only happens in nightmares, right? Because everything that could go wrong did go wrong. It started with the battery of the clicker that they gave me just ran out after about 2 or 3 clicks. So, okay, this guy is going and they're helping me changing the battery and so on. Right as they fix that, the microphone cuts out, right? I'm like, oh my God. And we were in a Holiday Inn hotel. And once they replaced the microphone, I talk another 2 minutes. And all of a sudden, the entire power goes out. The light goes out. The only light in the room was from the exit signs, the little illumination, right? And I just kept on going. I just stood a little bit closer, increased my volume to really reach the furthest corners, and just kept on going. And they fixed the problem. About 2-3 minutes later, light came on, my slides came on again, and everything was okay. Afterwards, there's this really old man coming up to me, and he's like, I served in the military, and I remember Bob Hope once came and gave a talk to us. And you reminded me of Bob Hope because exactly the same thing happened, and he did exactly the same thing. So, amazing. Yes, everybody watching us here, you have Nathan, you have me, and our advice to all of our clients is, whatever happens, keep on going. Be that Energizer bunny that just keeps on going until somebody stops you. And speaking of stopping, Nathan, we got only another 2 minutes on the clock here. This has been a fabulous 45 minutes. Time flew by. I hope our audience enjoyed it as well. I'll give you another 2 minutes for any final comment that you want to share with our audience when it comes to getting into the zone.
Okay, this is going to come out of left field, folks, but getting into the zone in the virtual world is as important as getting into the zone in person. So I'm very happy to tell you that there is a new kid on the block for helping all of us get into the zone. And one of the ways we can get into the zone is by making better eye contact with your audience, like Claudio and I have been doing with you as you've been watching. All of you probably have noticed that we're looking at you. How do we do that? Well, up to a few weeks ago, we had to look into the camera in order to make eye contact with all of you at home. And in the recording, the people that watch it, they're going to be able to see we're looking at them because we're looking into the camera. But I'm here to tell you, you don't have to look into the camera anymore, folks. There is a product out that you can start using, and I'm not here to sell this to you, except the fact that it has completely changed my life. This is a second screen made by Elgato, the cat company. And it literally is sitting on my desk right now, and you are on that screen. So I can look at you, my Zoom people, on that screen. My notes, my slides, everything on that screen. It's amazing. It's not cheap, but it has completely changed my life. And I hope that if you can afford something like that in your kit, if you have only a single screen, this will change your life. And for teleprompting, it's a very cool device. Again, I don't get any affiliate money or any kickback on it, but I am a wildly big fan of this product. Thank you for letting me tell people about that.
Great recommendation, Nathan. Thank you again for being such a great guest here today.
My pleasure.
Thanks to the audience that joined us here online. Real pleasure, and thanks for playing along so well with us. I hope you will join us again next week. We do this every Thursday. Next week's guest will be Andy Churchill, and it's gonna continue just the way that we are leaving it off here today. And with that, I wish you all a wonderful morning, day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and we shall see each other again next week.